Hey everyone, it's Michelle here. Today I have another card video that is inspiration for the Hero Arts March Challenge, which is to use your favorite product. So I've pulled out this color layering flamingo set. If you haven't checked the spring catalog for Hero Arts yet, they have a ton of layering sets like this, so if you're a fan of those, definitely check those out. They have a lot of different animals and flowers, and basically just any theme that you can want. And I pulled out my ink swatch papers here because this is really helpful for when you're color layering, because you usually want a few shades of one color that you can stamp on top of each other. So I'm just going through and picking out different shades of pink and like a reddish pink color. I'm using some Hero Arts dye inks. Some of them are from My Monthly Hero kits, and some of them are just ones that you can buy separately or like in packs. And if you want, some of these coloring layering sets also come in bundles where they give you 4 little ink cubes that you can use with the set. So if you want to do that, I know this flamingo one also comes in a bundle like that, and it comes with dies too. So that's an option. So I'm just placing a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 piece of cardstock in my mini Misty. And this will really help for this layering set, just lining everything up, and if I need to, double stamping. So I'm just placing the base layer of the flamingo down right now, and I'm going to be stamping this with my lightest color. There are only 3 layers of this flamingo, but I actually pulled out 4 colors just because I wasn't sure if there was enough contrast between all my colors, so I might have to bump things up a little bit if I need to. But really you only need 3 colors for this stamp. So I am just stamping that in my lightest color. And then I actually decided to go in again because it was a little splotchy and I wanted to fill it in a little bit more. And then I'm going to go in with the second layer of this flamingo, and I'm just lining it up on my cardstock and then closing the door of my Misty to pick up my stamp. And this is a pretty easy stamp to line up. Sometimes I'm not that good with layering stamps, but I had pretty good luck with this one. So I'm going in with that second layer, and like I thought, there wasn't quite enough contrast in that color, so I'm actually going in with the third color I picked out, which is slightly darker. And then that was a little better, so I thought I would move on to the next one and then use my fourth color for that. So I'm just repeating the same process, lining up that last stamp with what I've already stamped. And since this is such a unique shape, it's pretty easy to line up like the neck of the bird and everything. And then after this one is stamped, you get so much detail and depth to this stamp, and it's just really pretty. I actually went with darker colors probably than what a flamingo would be because those are the inks that I had. It's closer to red than pink, but I think it still came out really nicely. So now I'm going to be stamping the beak and the legs. I actually had to go look up what the legs of a flamingo look like because I wasn't sure what color it was, but turns out they're not actually like black or anything, they're just like a darker pink. So I went in with I think it was my third darkest color to stamp that, and then I stamped the beak with a gray color, which I thought was okay, but then later on I went in and restamped it with a black ink, and I liked that a lot better for the beak because it just gave a little bit more contrast and showed up better. And then I was trying to decide if I wanted to create like a little pool of water that the flamingo was standing in, and there's this little stamp that shows like a little ripple, and I thought I would stamp that. So I placed that in my Misty, but then I decided that I wanted to color some water first, so I'm just taking out my Copics and doing a really quick, easy freehand water scene. I went in with a really light blue and then created strokes with a darker blue just to look like it was a little pond or something. Decided not to use that ripple stamp at all because I thought that the water I colored in was fine as is. And now I'm going to die cut this flamingo into a rectangle. So I pulled out a rectangle that was the general shape that I wanted. This is the right height that I want, but it's actually not the right width. I want it to be skinnier. So I'm going to show you a little trick that you can use with your nesting dies. So I'm putting in my die right now and just cutting it as normal. But like I said, this is a little bit bigger, a little bit wider than I want. So what I'm going to do is place the right side a little bit overlapping with what I've already cut. And this is actually a stitched rectangle die, so you might be worried that the stitches don't line up or something, but when you place this die over what you've already cut, you can actually feel the notches of the rectangle that you've already cut, and it's really easy to just line it up again. So I'm just placing this in my die cut machine, and I'm only sandwiching that one edge, not the entire thing, because I don't want to mess up the stitching on the other side. So this only die cuts that right side. Now you can see I have a skinnier rectangle that's the perfect size that I want. So you can always do this with any of your like square or rectangle dies. If you don't have the exact shape, you can try this trick and see if you can get it to the perfect shape you want. So now I am preparing my card base, which is like a reddish card base that I thought matched well with the flamingo colors, and I just cut it to be a top folding 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 cardstock. And now I'm pulling out my favorite Hero Arts product that I showed you in my last video also, and I pulled out this tribal stencil. This is the same exact stencil that I used in my last video, and I just wanted to show you another way that I like to use it. Like I've said before, stencils are really versatile and you can use them for so many techniques, which is one reason that I really love them. So I'm just placing my stencil down, and then I am smushing my Versamark ink pad all over that stencil, and we're going to be doing some heat embossing. So I pulled out some Hero Arts white satin pearl embossing powder, which is another one of my recent favorite products. I've just discovered this, and I'm just really loving the pearlescent effect that it has and can give to any color cardstock. So I'm going to heat set this, and you can see that at first it looks white, but then when you heat set it, it turns a little bit more translucent and is just like really shimmery and pretty. So it's a little bit more of a subtle look than plain white embossing powder, but a little bit bolder than clear embossing powder. So now I'm just picking a sentiment that will go on this card, and I picked out the Hello Gorgeous sentiment. I really love the other ones that come in this set, like Stand Tall. I think that's so cute for this flamingo, but I just chose this one because the orientation of the sentiment is what I wanted to go with this card. So I went ahead and heat set that with white embossing powder, and you can see there's a little part on the left that I actually missed with my anti-static powder tool, so I'm actually going in with a dry paintbrush and just brushing that away, but it turned out fine. And I decided that I wanted to double stamp and heat emboss this just to get a clearer image. So again, this is where the Misty comes in handy if you ever need to go over something twice, which I do a lot, so a handy tool to have. So I just went over that, and you can see it's a little bit bolder and the words are more filled in with that double stamping. I just trimmed that down. I'm going to adhere everything together now. So behind the flamingo, I'm cutting a piece of craft foam to go behind to create some dimension, and just placing double-sided tape on both sides of that. And then I'm mounting that down. And then for the sentiment, since it's going to be hanging off a little bit, I'll need craft foam for just the right side of it, and then the left side will have flat adhesive just to adhere to that white piece that's already mounted. And then to finish off, I brought out some sequins. These are larger clear sequins, and I'm just scattering them around the card. And then I'm adhering those with liquid adhesive and tweezers, which are helpful sometimes. And I like to tuck my sequins into the different layers, because that just brings out the dimension of the card. So that's my finished card. I really love the look of the heat embossing with that pearl embossing powder on top of the stencil. If you haven't entered the Hero Arts Challenge, there's still a few days and you can win a gift certificate to Hero Arts, so definitely check that out and enter if you haven't. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you again soon.